Hey guys, it's Girl Got Game, and welcome back to Changeling. Today, we are starting Sweet, Sweet William's Route, and I'm very excited, because he's our only human option. He is an Esper. I'm kind of expecting almost jealous girlfriend type stuff with William, except it's jealous ghosts that hang out with him, so we will see if I'm right on those accounts. But I don't really know too much about William, because he's often hiding himself. Poor boy. I think Mark's route was the most I had interacted with him up to that point, so I'm looking forward to getting to know him. So this is back in the common route, I think it was our first day of school. And I need to pick a reading partner, so let's do that. The seat up at the front was next to a sort of grumpy-looking, well-dressed blonde, the aforementioned Mark. He didn't look extremely friendly. There were also two empty sets of paired desks at the back, and one open seat next to a gloomy boy with messy brown hair. He didn't even look up as Mrs. Roberts explained my choices. The only other seat was on the second-to-last row by the window. It was tempting, to be honest, but I should probably take a seat that at least gives me a reading partner. But both options just looked like so much fun. Okay, to the back. William, it's your turn. I felt uncomfortable at the idea of sitting next to the blonde. He didn't look especially friendly and was kind of radiating vibes that screamed, "Don't sit here." Accurate. Actually, speaking of Mark, I forgot that we learned in his route that William can also read minds, so I need to keep that in mind as we pick choices, knowing that he can hear all my thoughts. Again. At least I just came off of a mind reading route, so hopefully I'm still on that mindset. I decided to follow my intuition on that one. Instead, I shuffled past him and headed to the back. Literature was my favorite subject, so it shouldn't matter if I sat in the front or not anyway. I slid into the desk next to the brown-haired boy, wondering why every desk around him was empty. Are they empty, though? He looked up with surprise when I sat down. I shivered slightly as I set my backpack on the floor. Probably sat on a ghost. That's weird. Is there a draft back here? I glanced up at the ceiling, but there was no vent overhead. It was definitely really cold, though. I wonder if that's why he wears the scarf all the time. It wasn't just my imagination, because the brown-haired boy was still wearing a jacket and scarf. Ah! I'd probably have to remember to bring an extra layer tomorrow, too. Just my luck. I caught the boy's eye and shot him a smile. It's kinda cold back here, huh? Gentle brown eyes gazed at me from under his long fringe. He looked away quickly, chewing his lower lip.
You shouldn't have chosen that seat.
He mumbled something, but it was too quiet for me to hear. I didn't get a chance to ask him to repeat it before the teacher started talking again. Today we'll be continuing our reading of A Midsummer Night's Dream with our partners. William, if you would be so good as to share your book with Nora for today. His head shot up and he stared at me with an expression that looked vaguely like horror. I smiled awkwardly. Shy, I hope. Sorry to be a bother. He looked away quickly, but it was hard not to notice how his ears went red. Definitely shy. That was a relief. Shyness I could handle. I studied this play last year, so I'm already familiar with it.
I've also read it before.
Oh good, so this should be pretty easy. He chewed his lip before looking up at me seriously.
You should ask if you can move up front tomorrow. Most people don't like sitting by me.
Wait, is he mad I sat here? No, I didn't think that was it. He didn't look angry, just sort of miserable. He definitely struck me as the awkward sort, but that didn't explain the other empty chairs around him. So, surely people wouldn't refuse to sit by him just because he was a little shy, right? I don't think I'll mind sitting here. I lowered my voice to a whisper. The guy up front looks sort of cranky. William's lips twitched slightly, but he didn't quite smile. It's my best friend.
I don't mind if you stay, but if you ever want to move, I'll understand.
It's fine, really. Don't worry about that. Anyway, where did you leave off reading? Why is he so convinced I'll want to move? Is he being bullied? That didn't seem right either. Not with Danny and Elliot and Allie in class with him. Danny and Elliot didn't seem the types to bully someone or put up with others doing it. And I knew Allie wasn't. Weird.
I was nearly to the start of Act 4.
Okay, great. We'll just start there then.
Alright.
We spent the next 45 minutes taking turns reading. I was really surprised at how confident he was once we got to work. His voice was so quiet that, at times, I had to lean closer just to hear him, but he read without stumbling over the sometimes complex dialogue. I expected him to be more hesitant, but it seemed like it was just conversation he wasn't great at. Anyway, it was nice to have a decent reading partner, considering how a lot of people made a big fuss about hating Shakespeare, Mark. I quickly found myself feeling quite pleased with my seating choice. He seemed to relax as time passed as well, even if it was a bit cold. When class was nearing its end, I looked up at the clock and stretched. We made a lot of progress today. A soft thud next to my seat caught my attention. Ghost? I glanced down at the floor and saw that my pencil case, where I kept my drawing pencils, had somehow fallen out of my book bag. Huh. I thought I closed that. I leaned down to pick it up and put it back in.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, just noticed something fell out of my bag. Moments later, the bell rang and the rest of class immediately packed up and vacated. William and I were both slower to gather our things. Anyway, I was trying to say that you're good at this.
Thank you.
I actually have a big soft spot for Shakespeare. Pretty much everyone I know thinks it's weird.
It's not weird. I mean, I don't think it's weird anyway. I also like Shakespeare.
I'm glad. It's more fun to sit by someone who also likes it. Mark!
I'll see you later.
Sure, see you. Our eyes met again and he gave me the sweetest smile before heading out the door. No matter what he said, I didn't think I would regret sitting by him at all. Anyone who liked Shakespeare couldn't be that bad at the very least. I leaned to pick up my book bag and my pencil case was laying on the floor next to it. I just picked this up. Maybe I didn't put it in all the way. Frowning slightly, I picked it up and put it securely in my book bag. Allie was over in one corner surrounded by people I didn't know, so I decided to just head to my next class and catch her later. Okay, time to skip ahead. I'm going to take a look at your book core. Have fun, Elliot. I can never remember. Yes? No. It's this one. Ewan, you're next. I promise. Okay, run for the houses. Do not follow the shadow to your death. Spencer. What are things going to be like with you and me this time? We had such fun last time. Okay. Yeah, so the one good thing is that we don't really see William. So I can go through pretty fast. Alright. Allie, I need you to go get Sweet William for me so that we can exchange numbers in the library, hopefully. It was difficult to choose from such a random list. How could I know which one was relevant to me, or which one might be the most useful? I didn't think I was really ready to read about bridge occupants. Actually, now that I think about it, because William is like a human psychic or an esper, Spencer is also technically one of those, we find out, so maybe we'll have quite a bit to do with Spencer in this, since he and William are similar? Possibility, anyway. Then again, that wasn't a selection on the list anyway. I ended up choosing to read about human psychics. Starting with something human was less alarming than some of the others. Though I was in a magic library, picking out research material on magic people to learn about myself and how to stay out of danger. That, in and of itself, was kind of alarming. Velos didn't seem surprised by my choice. He just nodded and let out a shrill whistle that echoed through the library. What I expected was some sort of magic library minion to wander out from the stacks, but it was actually something a little less jarring. The book just floated out of the shelves right to us. I could hear it whistling through the air even before it came into view and zipped into Velus's waiting hands. He immediately handed it to me. I took it gingerly, half expecting it to go flying off again. Thank you.
Not at all.
Allie looked at me curiously as she led me to a nearby table. You okay? Yeah, just a little, freaked out. I mean, not by this place, just sort of in general. And my arm hurts. Your arm hurts? What happened? I don't remember that. I have to go back and say, why does your arm hurt? Allie laughed gently and rubbed my back. I've been there, believe me. Oh, right, the Spriggan incident. Yeah, I forgot that he was dragging you away. Anyway, I need to go call the agency and get a team out there to look for whatever accosted you earlier. I'm going to send someone in to sit with you. She cut me off before I could protest. I know you don't need a babysitter, but I'd rather not leave you here alone. Velos is here. Allie glanced back at the quiet man behind the desk. Like I said, I'd rather not leave you here alone. Fine. I'm not about to argue with someone who can probably turn me into a frog if I tick her off. Please. If I wanted to do anything like that, you'd have relocated to the bog years ago. She stuck her tongue out and quickly went back to the club room. I rubbed at my eyes before pulling the book closer. I opened to the first page, staring down at the words blankly. After a moment, I leaned forward and started reading. Humans are one of the few races with no inherent magic abilities as a species. However, there are some humans who develop innate non-magic abilities. These are what normal humans call psychics, or espers. Media has portrayed psychics with a vast array of phony fortune-telling and spoon-bending powers, but the reality is actually far different. Nice Matrix reference. The most common psychic ability is the ability to see the paranormal. Generally speaking, paranormal in this sense refers to spirits and ghosts. There are, however, psychics who have sight that goes far beyond the spirit realm. I guess that made sense. It wasn't like the concept of psychics being able to see dead people was new. Many psychics develop a variety of telekinetic or telepathic abilities, but some never achieve anything more than a sensitivity to certain types of supernatural activity. Huh. So I guess all that stuff is real then. It shouldn't have come as a shock, considering I was sitting in a magic library. I couldn't help but wonder just how large the paranormal community actually was. It seemed to be that keeping all this a secret from the rest of society must be a monumental task. I looked back at the text in front of me. Though psychics often have no talent for magic, some are able to learn to channel energy for the sake of repelling or vanquishing spirits and other paranormals. Cryptics that consume life force have described espers as being easy targets and very desirable prey. Oh, interesting. So, like, Adrian, because he consumed life force. Maybe that's why Spencer was such an easy target. That's interesting. Huh. Consume life force? There are things that do that? I have just decided that I totally don't want to be a psychic, thank you very much. I slammed the book shut and pushed it away just as someone else walked up to the table. Startled, I looked up to see William Lee, my reading partner from literature. I just stared up at him dumbfounded. If he was here, then he was also a paranormal magic person. Whoa! Did not see that coming at all. The moment our eyes met, William froze a bit like a deer in headlights.
Sorry, I didn't mean to, startle you. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You didn't really startle me. I just read something a bit freaky, that's all.
Is it okay if I sit? Allie sent me. There was no one else around.
Of course, I don't mind. It's nice to have company. William shuffled to the chairs and sat across from me. He looked at the cover of the book I was reading, seeming surprised.
What freaked you out in that book?
Oh, you know, the part about psychics falling prey to creatures that consume life force or whatever?
Yeah. It's important to be on your guard against that. There are a lot of unpleasant things lurking out there. Are you an Esper too, then?
I'm not really sure what my deal is yet. But, two? That means you're a... what was it, Esper?
Yeah. But don't worry, nothing that follows me around can really come in here.
Follows you? He looked at me seriously for such a long time that I couldn't help but wonder if he was one of the psychics that developed mind-reading abilities. Maybe. He lowered his eyes and ran a finger along the tabletop slowly.
It's not uncommon for stronger espers to have a few things lurking around them.
Things?
They can't see much of the real world, so they're drawn to anything that can act like a light to them. Usually that means people like me. They attach themselves to us because we're the only thing they see clearly.
You're talking about ghosts, right? The way he said all that was so casual, like it was just an everyday reality for him, things attaching themselves to him or following him around. I couldn't help but wonder how long he'd been dealing with that.
Ghosts. It depends how you define a ghost.
Spirit of a dead person? Is there another way?
There are other ways. But if that's what you meant, then no. They're not all ghosts. Some were never human to begin with.
Then what were they? What do you call something that was never human? William shrugged and stared down at his hands. His unruly hair fell in his eyes. I couldn't tell if he was trying to work out how to explain it to someone who knew nothing about it, or if he just didn't want to talk about it. I was just about to tell him he didn't have to when he spoke up again.
Some things have always existed as spirits. Nature spirits, collections of old thoughts and memories, or other things. Like, there's a belief that an object can develop a consciousness if it's very old or very well loved. If that happens, it can become a sort of ghost as well. They all have different names, but it's sometimes easier to just call them all ghosts or haunts.
It was strange that we were talking about something so unnerving, but listening to his quiet voice was helping me calm down a little. So, things like that really just follow you around all the time? When he looked up at me, I was startled by the sadness in his eyes. Aw, William, I just want to give you a big hug already.
They're the reason why people stay away from me. I'm sorry for talking about this. It's probably all pretty frightening, isn't it?
I guess it's kinda scary to think there are things, beings I can't see. But I don't know why it would make people want to avoid you. I mean, you seem okay to me.
Just because they can't be seen doesn't mean they don't make themselves known. Not everything that follows me is friendly.
Isn't that a good reason you shouldn't be left alone?
I think others are more comfortable this way.
Did he hear that? I stared at him, waiting to see if he would react to that thought, but he didn't seem to. Not openly, anyway. Maybe it was just a coincidence. Isn't that just harder to deal with by yourself, though?
Not really. Sometimes it's easier to deal with them when there's no one else around to see it.
I suppose I could somewhat understand that. If normal people couldn't see things like fae or ghosts, then watching another person interact with them had to look pretty strange. Having to deal with invisible entities daily probably meant things would get awkward fast if there were other humans around. I could only imagine what it was like having to constantly come up with excuses for talking to thin air.
It worries people when they see me acting strange because of spirits, or when they see strange things happen because of them. I can't blame them for wanting to stay away.
But it's not fair. That was kind of a lame thing to say, but it was true. It wasn't his fault that things like that followed him around. No wonder he seemed so lonely. Isn't there a way to make them leave?
It's not always easy to do something like that. Even if I force them to leave, without constant vigilance, they'll come back. Or be replaced by something worse. Sometimes it's better to deal with things that are familiar than risk something unknown showing up. And they aren't all bad.
That was so depressing. I wanted to find something else to talk about, but I didn't know what. William just looked so sad, and it was kind of my fault for initiating such a depressing conversation. Aww. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm depressing. Sweet baby, no!
I'm sorry for talking about something depressing.
He's definitely reading my thoughts, isn't he? I shifted uncomfortably. Assuming William actually had that ability, I didn't think he'd intentionally pry into my head. But the thought that I was just broadcasting my thoughts to the psychic public was equally distressing. Girl, you have no idea. I don't mind talking about it. It sounds like it must be hard for you, that's all. I wish I could help.
It's okay. A lot of them have been attached to me since I was a child. I guess I would feel lonely without them.
But it seemed like it must be even lonelier with them since they kept other people from getting close to him. So some of them have been with you for years?
They are beings of habit. They won't leave easily once they find someone who can see them.
You said they can't come in here, though.
There's a barrier around the club that keeps them at bay, so they just wait outside for me to leave.
Like a spooky fan club. He is eeky, oh my god. We were silent for a moment.
Are you alright? I heard you had a frightening experience this morning.
Oh, I'm fine. I mean, a little rattled, definitely, but I'm okay. Besides, encountering one creepy bridge thing was probably nothing like what he dealt with on a daily basis.
But you're new to all this, so it has to be pretty scary. And finding out that you sit next to someone followed by ghosts.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Cue the Ghostbusters theme. What do I want to say? I still don't really know. I don't know what to do with you, sweet William. I would assume I should be as honest as possible. Like, honest and kind, that kind of deal, probably, because you can read some of my thoughts and intentions, and you're a sweet BB who needs a hug. So I think it would be normal to admit it's a little scary. It is a little scary. To be honest, I don't really like spooky things. But I guess I have to start getting used to it if I'm going to be encountering creepy bridge dwellers going forward.
I don't think that will be a frequent occurrence.
I hope not. I don't know what that was, but I never want to see something with teeth that big ever again.
You do get used to it.
Seeing bridge dwellers with big teeth? He smiled slightly. Aw.
Seeing things that no one else can see.
I hope so. I think.
I've been this way my entire life, so it's different for me. But I've seen some of the others. How they adapt. I know you will too. I think you're a strong person.
I don't know about that.
People are always stronger than they think they are. Otherwise, you wouldn't insist on staying.
I gave him a weary smile. By the way, thank you for talking to me and answering my questions. This is all totally new to me. I feel like I'm on the brink of this huge chasm, and I know absolutely nothing about what's on the other side. It's a bit disconcerting. Sorry for latching on and demanding all kinds of answers about things.
You aren't demanding. You're trying to figure yourself out, so I don't mind answering. If there's anything else I can do to help. I mean, I don't know what else I really could do, but if anything comes to mind.
To be honest, I really just appreciate you talking to me and answering my questions. This morning was a little odd, to say the least. I appreciate having company. If I was alone, I'd probably just be sitting here freaking myself out even more. He had a lot on his plate already, but was still offering to help me out. It was sweet. When I thought about it, everyone in the club had been pretty nice so far. Well, Mark accepted. He'd been cranky. I got the feeling he always was, though. Accurate. Ooh, you initiated the number. All right, girl. Go get it. Hey, can I get your number, maybe? Ah, the blush.
What?
He turned a little red and looked away. I mean, I don't know. Out of all the people from the club, I really only know Allie. It might be helpful to get to know some other people, too. I mean, if you don't mind.
I don't mind, really.
William pulled his phone from his coat pocket and handed it over.
You can put your details in.
As I did that, I gave him a sidelong look. It was the same coat he'd been wearing yesterday. One that seemed just a bit too heavy for wearing indoors. Hey, I was noticing that you always wear your coat.
I get cold really easily.
I wondered if that was also related to the spirits. I didn't know much about it, but I'd read or heard somewhere that the temperature would drop when there were spirits around. It was also really cold at the back of literature where he sat, but it wasn't cold in the library. And he said his spirits couldn't come here.
Nora.
He said my name so quietly that I almost didn't hear. I glanced up at him.
I know you're trying to be nice, but you don't have to do any of this. Sitting by me, talking to me, getting my phone number, you don't have to do it. And if you want to move to another seat, I'll understand.
He keeps like, it's okay. Don't get my hopes up, please. I can't. just leave me alone. I don't want to love again. I don't want to have my heart broken. Aw, no, I want to smooch you. Don't drive me away. The look on his face was heartbreaking. Was he really so used to people just walking away? I mean, I guess both of these are kind of the same thing. I'll do the top one. I'm not just being nice. I have selfish motivations too. To be honest, I'm still completely freaked out about all this. Right now, Allie is really the only person I know on this side of things. I think it'll be good to get to know more people who have experience with this stuff.
There are other club members.
You're the only one I have the opportunity to sit next to, though. I may be a newbie, but you've been dealing with this your whole life. I'm sure you'll have some good advice to give.
Are you sure?
I am. He looked away again, fiddling with his scarf. Aw, William, no! Just let me hug you, sweet boy!
People always say that at first.
He spoke so softly that even in the silent library I didn't quite catch what he'd said.
Allie is probably back by now.
He looked up at me worriedly, chewing his lower lip.
I feel bad I took up all your research time talking about myself.
It's okay. I was the one bombarding you with questions. Besides, it's better to learn from someone with experience than from a book, right? William gave me what I had already decided was a very, very rare smile.
I guess you're probably right about that.
I guess I should take my book back to Velos.
If you leave it here, it'll return to the shelf on its own.
Really? That's convenient.
Magic often is.
I wondered about the exact point of having a librarian if he didn't have to return or retrieve books for people. I mean, he had to whistle for it. We left the book there and he walked me back to the club room, not that the door was far away. When we entered the club room, we found that Allie was just returning as well. Hey, I was just about to come get you. How'd your reading go? It was okay. I think I probably have a lot of ground to cover. Basically, yes. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with her, William.
I didn't mind.
Thanks. I'm glad we got the chance to talk. He gave me another small smile as he left the club room. Allie sprawled out on the sofa as if she was exhausted. I don't think I can skip. Nope. So we found your bridge, creep. Ugh. What was it? A Spriggan. I don't think it meant any harm, but it's been gently relocated to a less populated area. You know, it said you're back to me. How did it know I was back? I mean, it was acting like it knew me. Allie shook her head and shrugged. Wild Fae say a lot of strange things. I wouldn't put too much stock in anything it said, but... But? Wild Fae don't show themselves to just anyone. Even I can't see them if they want to hide. The fact that you could see it... Good grief, Allie, it cannot possibly get any weirder than it already has, so just say it. I think you should start researching more deeply into the Fae. The fact you could see the Spriggan so easily could mean that's where your heritage lies. The agency guys agreed. Well, at this point that's no weirder than finding out I'm a vampire and I've secretly been sneaking out for years to eat my neighbors. Or finding out you're a witch. Or anything else magical, mystical, and or weird. No doubt. So now what? Well, you can hide in the club and read all day, but I also got permission to take you home early. On what grounds? On the grounds that you have a very, very bad migraine. That isn't actually a lie. My head really does feel ready to explode. It gets easier. I promise it does. I hope so. Want me to take you home? Actually, yeah, that would be great. By the way... She stood and went to pick up something by the door. My bag! We found it hanging at the bottom of the bridge. I took it from her and checked inside. Everything seemed to be there. Maybe Brenna left it there after I, ran off screaming. Well, at least we were able to recover it. Allie led the way out to the hall while I fumbled around trying to text my idiot brother. Going home. Bad headache. Have permission. I doubted he'd respond. He never did. During the walk to the car, I did my best to look ill in case anyone stopped us. It wasn't completely an act. Now that the adrenaline was gone and I didn't have a weird conversation to distract me, I actually was feeling a bit woozy. Allie didn't really know much about the Fae in general, so on the way home we mostly talked about the other club members. Well, she didn't go into all the details, just the basics. Elliot and Mark were vampires. Elliot was infected a few years ago. Mark was born that way. Danny was a werewolf, also infected a few years ago. Ewan was Fae, a Dullahan, basically a headless rider, hence the head coming off. William, of course, was an Esper. Brenna was also some type of Fae. Philos, Allie, and Corvin were all in the wizard category. There were several other members too, some from pretty much every category. A lot of them never showed up or participated. And like she'd said before, there were other staff members who were cryptics as well, including the school principal. It was just so weird. After Allie dropped me at school, I went straight to my room and crashed. I really hoped strange encounters like that morning weren't going to become the norm. But I was definitely going to be avoiding the bridge for a while. I didn't think I could stand another major incident. Not anytime soon, anyway. And given what Allie had hinted at regarding the upcoming holiday, it seemed like it would be best to lay low for a while.